So the Penn State Nittany Lions came into the 2025 season ranked number 2 in the preseason rankings. Of course, they ended up firing James Franklin halfway through the season. A disappointing season for Penn State, but can they get back on track in 2026 with Matt Campbell coming over from Iowa State? Well, we're going to talk about that in this video. We'll give a preview of the 2026 season for the Penn State Nittany Lions. We'll talk about their regular season win total and perhaps their chances of making the college football playoffs. And while it's easy to think back and think of how they failed last year, let's try to put it in perspective. They were 3-6 in the Big Ten, 7-6 overall last season. However, if you look at their losses, they lost to Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State, and nobody was beating those three teams last year. They lost by 1 point on the road at Iowa. They lost by a single point at home to Northwestern. They lost 5 games by 5 points or less. And for those of you who read the Phil Steele magazine, you know that losses in close games is one of Phil Steele's best predictors of a team that's going to bounce back and improve the following season. Now, of course, it's going to be a much different team with Matt Campbell as the head coach as opposed to James Franklin. But I got to tell you, last year when I saw number 2 in the rankings for James Franklin, the under for regular season wins was a big bet for me in the preseason with Penn State, because James Franklin just doesn't win the big games. He had a horrible record against Michigan, against Ohio State, and Indiana with Curt Cignetti is a tough beast as well. The good news this year, they don't have to play any of the big boys. They don't play Ohio State, they don't play Oregon, and they don't play Indiana. And Matt Campbell, I wouldn't say that he's won the big games because he doesn't have a national championship, but he is a 3 times Big 12 Coach of the Year. He also won Coach of the Year in the MAC. And you look at what he did with what he had to work with at Iowa State, and it inspires confidence. And then you look at the talent he's bringing with him from Iowa State. They bring Rocco Becht in. He's an experienced quarterback. And I think Rocco Becht doesn't get a fair shake from college football fans. Did you know that Rocco Becht ranks 2nd in the Big 12 in passing yards over the last 3 seasons, over 9,000 yards? Of course, Josh Hoover leads the pack for the last 3 seasons, and he landed with Indiana, and everybody's picking Indiana to contend for the Natty. But Rocco Becht, I think, is right there with Josh Hoover. He's a capable quarterback. They're bringing his receiving core with him. They're bringing his starting running back with him. This team's in good shape. And when you look at their schedule, they have a chance to be great in Matt Campbell's first season in 2026. So I definitely think they have a chance to make the playoffs, and they're priced at as a 4-1 long shot to make the playoffs. I would be buying rather than selling when it comes to Penn State this season. We'll break down their schedule and talk about their regular season win total. But before we do, let me tell you about a few promotions and perhaps an announcement for the coming football season. We're sitting here in late July, and we still have the summer special available, 6 days for $69. This is available at wagertalk.com, and you can grab this up until the end of July. We'll have new promotions coming in August. And for those of you who missed it, we absolutely killed it in the World Cup this summer. Once again, hitting over 70% in the World Cup. And I point that out just an example of I was telling everybody about my history in the World Cup before it started. Those of you who trusted me and signed up for the package did quite well. And the big news heading into this football season, we're bringing the band back together. Myself, Ross Benjamin, Sean Higgs. We will be doing a weekly football show, a college football show, and an NFL show on the Picks and Parlays YouTube channel for this coming football season. Some of you might remember the trio of us working for Winner's Circle a couple years back. It was a very popular show, and we're hoping that you guys support us with our new show. You can see us on Picks and Parlays YouTube channel. Our first episode is probably going to go live next week. But let's get back into this preview for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Let's have a look at their regular season win total, currently sitting at 8.5, juice to the over. And let's run down their schedule. Week 1, at home against Marshall. Got to count that as a win. Then they go on the road to take on Temple. I don't see Temple upsetting them. At home versus Buffalo, should be 3-0 after the first 3 games. Now their first tough game at home versus Wisconsin. Luke Fickell's on the hot seat. Wisconsin's, I mean, I just don't see them having the talent to go out and win on the road at Happy Valley. Anything could happen, but I'm penciling this one in as a win. So they're sitting at 4-0. Now they get a revenge game against Northwestern. You got Aiden Childs coming in at quarterback for Northwestern. Northwestern's a competitive team, a scrappy team. We saw that last year when they went into Happy Valley and won by a single point. I think Penn State knocks them off here, gets the revenge, moves to 6-0. Now you get into one of their tougher games, at home versus USC. This is one that they're probably expected to have a good chance of losing, but it's a very winnable game. We'll see what happens to actually, if you look at the USC schedule, it's a tough spot for USC in amongst a bunch of tough games. So they'll be coming off a tough game, heading into another tough game. It's going to be very difficult for USC to win on the road at Penn State. So I'm going to give them that game as well, which brings them to 6-0. Now on the road at Michigan. I think this is a winnable game too. I'm not that sold on Bryce Underwood yet. Kyle Whittingham, I think he's a fantastic head coach. We'll see how he does at Michigan. A lot of unknowns about Michigan heading into this season. Winnable game, but we'll call it a loss because they're playing at Michigan. So now we go to 6-1. Home against Purdue, you got to give them the win there. That's 7-1. At Washington, tricky game. I mean, it's very difficult to go on the road at Washington and win that game. So we'll give them a loss there, even though it's a very winnable game. Washington doesn't have the depth either. So if they pick up a few injuries, they could be banged up by that point. Again, a very winnable game. I'd give them close to a 50% chance of winning that game, but I can't count it as a win because it is tricky going to Washington, trying to walk away with points. Then you got a home game against Minnesota, a home game against Rutgers, and a road game at Maryland at the end of the year. We're chalking those all up as wins, and that brings us to 10-2, ladies and gentlemen. I think this will be a 10-win team, and a 10-win Big Ten team has a chance to go to the college football playoffs. Keep in mind, 4-1 price on the playoffs, and the regular season win total, 8.5, juice to the over. They're going to have to suffer a couple bad losses, upsets, to fail to get to 9 wins this year. The schedule makers are doing them plenty of favors. They don't have to face Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State. And as I said, you look at their losses last year, 2 losses by a single point, 5 losses by 5 points or less. I expect the pendulum to swing. I think they win those close games this year. I'm predicting 10 wins for the Penn State Nittany Lions. If you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. And if you've got anything to say to me, even if it's nasty, hit me up in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.